Dr. Mzamo Masito, thank you so very much for honoring this invitation to return
Thank you.
to CheckPoint,
Thank you very
the
much.
podcast. You know, after our first conversation, I knew right there and then that it couldn't end there, that you would have to come back. Not just today, but again and again and again. Because this book sits at the center of so many of our troubles as a country. And let me first start by asking you how the public have reacted or has reacted to the book. Obviously, you've been out there, you've launched it, you've been speaking about it, people have been asking about it, where to get it, getting it, and commenting publicly. How has the response been?
There have been two camps.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's interesting.
There's been the camp that
boys and men. No,
mixed. Mostly the camps
I'm just joking.
are mixed.
Yeah.
But there's been the camp that has been hostile.
Okay.
And against.
Tell me why. What are they saying? The hostile camp.
Angry. And
at you or the content?
At me and the content, at the title of the book. I don't even think many have read it, the book. Just the title.
They were just put off.
Just put off. And also angry that they're again men centering themselves in a journey of women and girl empowerment when we have not fully achieved gender equality. When gender-based violence at the majority affects women and girls. And there again, men taking away the light from the real issue, which is oppression of women and girls by patriarchy or by men. And they're just angry.
And how have you been responding to this anger? Let's start with the title of the book, because I've seen a lot of criticism around the title of the book. How do you respond to people who are offended or angered by the title?
It happened to me even yesterday. I flew from Cape Town.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's still happening.
Joburg, and I sat next to the lady, and she looked at me and says, "Aren't you that guy who wrote the book? That book?" I said, "Oh, that book." And she said, "Yeah." And she says, "Now that you're sitting next to me, can you explain yourself?"
2 hours.
Yeah.
It's a 2-hour flight, no?
Explain yourself first about the title, because I hate it. Therefore, I hate you.
Is that what she said?
Yes.
To your face?
She said, and by the way, I want to say it up clear to you. I really hate men. And I'm angry at men. I hate men and I'm angry at men because you guys are hateful. You've hurt me and you've pained me. And then I've said to her, I understand that a lot of the words and the angry words that come out actually have an origin. So we first have to acknowledge that these hateful, hostile venting, righteous normative hate, or even virtuous hate has a source. And that source is the hurt and pain that men have caused. So there is a source. So it's not just from nothingness. So there is a source. And that hurt and pain has metastasized into I hate you. So into hate speech. So it didn't start as hate speech. It started as you hurt me, you pained me. And it doesn't look like there has been sufficient justice or restorative justice for the women and girls who have been hurt or pained. And therefore, it moved from, oh, you don't see me or you don't see my pain into hate speech and verbal violence and relational aggression. So I said to her, I do cognitively empathize with what you are saying to me. It's not shocking me because I myself grew up with the mom who's been angry for years at men. Then that hate metastasized into hate, into anger towards even me as her son. So I can see how we can be in a society that has lived very long time on pain and hurt that has now metastasized into what I now see as verbal violence. And then I said to her, however, we should be a society that is able to live with multiple truths. Your truth is valid. Men have had women and girls. It's a valid truth. Yet, there is another truth, which is boys are failing and falling behind. That is also a truth. It doesn't take away from the truth that you have just spoken. And it also, the other truth is men are struggling. The old norms that we have used to define masculinity, that indoda must provide, indoda must, are now hurting men. Men are dying at 5 times the rate on completed suicide. That is also a truth. So
one doesn't
cancel the other. So we must be a society that is able to dialectically be matured enough to hold multiple truths and to even hold opposing truths and also to hold diagonal truths. And we must also be a society that is willing to agree to disagree.
Thank you.
Me and you can agree and disagree, but still be friends.
Yes.
Because there's a high probability that 90% of the things about this life we actually agree about.
Yeah.
Then there's this 10% that we don't agree about.
Yeah.
Why do we need to cancel each other because we've got this 1 to 5%?
Or amplify that 10% and forget about the
90%. So I then said to her, then she said to me, okay, now that you put it that way, I think I hear you. I was put off, but now I'm going to go buy your book.
Oh, man.
So that's the camp.
Yeah.
And then the second...
But does that take us to the girl saying, don't judge a book by its cover?
Yes. Actually, she even said that, oh, maybe then I shouldn't judge the book by its cover. Then I also said to her, unfortunately, I think with digital media, with 130, 160 characters, we have not learned to have depth and breadth in our debate and dialogue. We are quick to judge on one-liners, on headlines. We are clickbait indoctrinated or schooled. So we only do clickbaits or just headlines, and then we have an opinion. So we don't have the culture of saying, okay, I'm going to reserve my opinion. I can feel my anger or my emotions going up. Let me go read first so that I'm informed, and then offer a critique and offer a constructive critique that has pros and cons for this. We are not a generation that does that anymore. So I said, so we lack that depth.
But also, for me, be fine with your thoughts and ideas and beliefs being challenged. Just be fine with it.
And I say to people, I mean, for the first 2 months, the camp that I'm talking about really, really, really said nasty things about me. Nasty, like really hurtful things. And they also said hurtful things about Kaya Dlangashem, who helped me, who was so happy about the book. And he put it up on Twitter, on his account.
I think I saw some of that.
And he got smashed and attacked. Nasty, nasty things. And I also say to people, I genuinely believe that I'm not money. Only money is liked
by everyone.
Neither am oxygen or water. Even Jesus, who walked on water, got crucified yesterday or rose yesterday or today. Who am I to think that I am not going to have enemies or I'm not going to have people who disagree? I want people to disagree with me because it advances discourse. It advances maturity. So I don't want to be in a culture that we all agree. But I also would like us to do it with care and respect. And also
hear each other.
Yes, and add the word respect and care and maturity and listen to understand, not to respond. But we're not there yet. I think we're rude. And I think we're disrespectful towards each other. And I think we're violent. Verbally violent toward each other.
I think we may be on social media, but in person, I think we are kinder to each other. Yes, I think social media makes people a little bit nasty.
It's the same when people type hard behind a laptop. Because people type hard when they send an email. Because they know no one's going to be in their face. But when someone is in your face, you check yourself. You regulate yourself. You're just a lot more regulated, a lot more respectful. But when you're gonna hide behind 160 characters, 130 characters on a TikTok or Insta or Facebook and all of these, then it brings out the worst in us, not the best in us.
But
so
isn't the lack of regulation something that really cuts across a lot that is wrong with our society? I mean, violence. If you had to stop for a second, right, and regulate what you're feeling and what you're thinking, surely you won't strike.
I see it as when hate and pain, at colonization, apartheid, which divided us by race, by tribe, and now it's dividing us by gender. So it's one, it's breaking the family, it's broken the home, especially black and colored homes. It's now dividing us by gender. So I feel like if you let hate or pain linger for too long and it's not dealt with, there's no reparations, there's no restorative justice, there's no restoration, it will metastasize into something that you don't like. It will be a dragon. It will channel itself into a need for retribution.
Sure.
So what I'm seeing is a need for retribution. So, and we have not dealt with the issue of retribution or reparation. And now we've channeled all of that hate and that anger toward each other. And so apartheid continues again to win. Because now we are at loggerheads and up in arms and in conflict and competition with each other. So that's now what it has done to us as a people, especially black and colored people.
Can there be restoration? I mean, can we? Do we go back to the source and start addressing those issues? What do we do? I mean, the only way that I can play a role is through platforms like these. I'm a journalist. I can sort of channel debate and all of that kind of stuff and encourage people to, speak out and share their views. What do we do at this stage? Because there is so much hatred and so much anger.
There's definitely a lot, but we should not lose hope. Because when we lose hope, we move from skeptical to cynical. When we become cynical, we are dangerous to each other, even more dangerous to each other. Because cynical people become indifferent, and indifferent people do nothing. So we let the pothole become a Kimberley hole. So we let things become a disaster. So I would say let's not lose hope, but we can, but also let's also acknowledge that we cannot fix 400, 500 years in 30 years. Let's be
or in sound bites
to each other. Because we need another 100 years or another 2 or 3 generations. But I do believe, though, that one of the mistakes we made when we get to 1994 is we don't focus on the mind. As Steve Biko said, the greatest weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And we don't do what the Afrikaners through the Dutch Reformed Church or the eNCA did, using religion as a tool for social change. We don't re-engineer our spirits and minds as Africans who were oppressed, who were in trauma. We don't go do on a group country therapy because TRC was not enough. We still need a therapy, group therapy, country therapy at a large scale to resolve these issues that we have, the hurt and the pain and the lack of restoration, lack of retribution or reparation that we didn't have, and so that we can unite, so that we can stop the conflict and competition and the relative deprivation, and then we can start healing. But let's pace ourselves. It's an ultra marathon. It's not a sprint.
Let's be patient with each other and work towards solving our issues together.
Yes. And that's why I like the word grace. Even though people did attack Nandi when she said, give men grace. I think we should give each other grace. Men should give women grace. Women should give men grace. We should, but we should also accept where we've done wrong. And where we have hurt.
We can't have the attitude of let's move on.
No, we can also not be like those who oppressed us, who got away with murder. And then tell us at the end, get over it.
Get over it, let's move on.
It's over 30 years now, let's move on. That we can't do that to each other.
Exactly.
We should sit and acknowledge the pain and wrestle and rumble and hug and dance with the pain and
Sure.
not act like, oh no, get over it. I said sorry.
Right.
And then the other side said, gets over it. No, we should rumble and wrestle with it for long and be uncomfortable for long. And then so that we can get on the other side, united, not in conflict, not in competition. Because I keep saying, when we are in conflict and competition, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. In our case, boys and girls suffer. So we forget at the end of the day, we're supposed to act in the best interest of the child. Nothing else. Best interest of the child. It's like when someone said to me, yeah, you see, I told you men are being oppressed. Look at this guy who the court forced him to pay maintenance, but he's not the father of these kids. He was the stepfather, but now he's divorced with this lady. And now they are forcing him to pay maintenance. What do you say about that? And then I said to him, listen, dude, I know where you're going. You want me to say, yeah, it is wrong for men to be oppressed. No, we must do what is right for children first.
Children.
We must act in the best interest of the child.
Okay. And that's exactly what I want us to talk about today. We spent a lot of time in our initial conversation talking about absent fathers and about boys, etc. Today, I want us to focus on single mothers. But before I go there, actually, you said there were two camps.
Yes.
And we only spoke about the hostile camp.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the positive camp, or the camp
Supportive
that appreciated
camp. Yes.
the work.
Camp number 2 is actually single mothers.
Oh,
with
really?
boys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Single mothers with boys. At no point I've had single mothers with boys attack me or attack the book or attack it anyway. Instead, they said to me, thank you for writing the book. And actually, you articulated things that the data of one at home, or my 2 boys or 1 boy, I can see it. I can see this failing. I can see this falling behind. I have daughters and a boy, or daughter and a boys, and I can see the daughter flourishing and thriving. I can see the boy stalling, moving slow, or failing, or falling behind. So all these things that you are saying, I can see the anger. I can see the absent father. But I can see them not doing well at school. I can see the drug addiction or the drug habits. I can see the suicide and the completed suicide. So for the single mothers, it was, this is real.
And could they see the intervention tools?
And then they said, what has been missing for them has been then what to do. So the problem is clear. The next thing was, so what do we do with this thing?
Yeah.
Because if you could help us with the doing,
yeah,
then we could correct. That was part of the biggest chunk. I would say the biggest probably buyers of the book have been single mothers with boys. Or single mothers with girls who are now thinking about who are their girls going to date or marry if there is this crisis. So they are now wanting to be part of the solution to help their daughters to not encounter the same challenges they are encountering.
Wow.
Because they say to me, amadoda awekho. If awekho at our age or generation, what's going to happen to our daughters? If we can't find people at our level horizontally at up, clear then our daughters will be in a drought, Sahara drought. There will be no males.
Yeah.
So then they are also helping. So that's where I've got a lot of, I say, support and encouragement. I mean, even yesterday or Saturday, I was at a church in Cape Town, and the entire church, which is led by a female pastor and priest, and brought me in to talk to the congregation. And they had hundreds of people there, predominantly mothers and single mothers, who wanted to talk about the plight of boys and girls. And they even had a social worker and psychiatrist to talk about the plight of girls. I want to talk about the plight of boys, and so that we can combine the data and see what is going on with boys and girls in South Africa, and how can we help each other and stop the apartheid that we have created. And then the other people in the segment, the camp that's been supportive, have been men and boys. So I've been touched by the many stories that males told me, especially stories around rape, molestation,
their own
rape and molestation by family members, by the neighbor, because 90% plus of rapes and molestations are by someone you know. That also includes males as well.
Yeah.
And it happened when they were young, but they told no one. and they don't know even to this day who to share it.
Sure.
And
They've been carrying the shame
the
on
shame.
their own. Yeah.
And the stories of their mom abandoning them and giving them to their grandmother because they found a man to marry. And they've been dropped at their grandmother's house because they cannot go and stay with the stepfather. So they tell how those stories wounded them. And they talk about suicide, how some of them attempted suicide or they know someone who completed suicide, and how many of the stories told here resonate with them. It is as if when they were reading about them,
their own
stories, but at last someone put pen to paper to talk about those stories. So I must say, I'm glad that there are two camps. I'm glad about that camp because I need it. And I needed to correct anything in this book that I didn't say. And I needed to add anything in this book that I didn't say. And I even remember saying to the camp one that Chinua Achebe once said, when you read a book and you get angry, and there's something in this book that was not said or should have been said differently, then it's a call to action for you to
write that.
Write that book.
Which is missing.
Then write another book that says this country hates our women / girls. Write it so that we can take both books and read them. And then I will even find you. And then we can do a combined book that now talks about boys and girls. And we shape South Africa together. But don't just throw stones and also not offer solutions.
Yeah. But the title was about shaking us a bit.
Yes,
hey?
It was
shocking and shaking us. Just tell me more about that.
Because I'm a marketeer. So I'm trained as a marketeer. I know that people are predictably irrational. People are driven by emotions and feelings. And I know that emotions and feelings move people to action. If you don't feel something, it moves you to inaction. But if you feel something, it moves you to action. Whether it be anger, whether it be rage, whether it be sadness, all of these move you to action. So I knew that I would not try to be politically correct. And also this title is not me who said this. It's actually hundreds and hundreds of young boys who had said to me, Uncle, I remember there's a study recently actually published in the UK and US where boys 12 to age 18 were asked, what do you know about masculinity? Majority of boys said, all I know is toxic. That's all I hear, that it is toxic. That means we are toxic. And that's what we've come to as a society, is that young boys, all they know about the word masculinity is run away from it. Don't be it. It is toxic. There's nothing good in it. So I wanted to show that the boys who I've been talking to, the men who I've been speaking with, deep down under the table, in the safe spaces or in the shadows, they think that this country hates us.
Wow.
And I wanted to say that out loud so that I take the things that are under the table and put the elephant in the room and stop hiding these things, because I worry that they will metastasize or just form into something that we will not like.
And they have, because of the reaction that you've seen. Yeah.
So that's really it.
Okay, so I chose this chapter. Look, I mean, I don't know. You're going to have to come back and back, for all these other issues that you cover in the book, because they're also important. But I thought let's focus on single mothers today for this conversation. And I'm hoping that people could sort of share what else they would want us to discuss in future, okay, after watching this. So you've titled it Crisis Raised by a Single Mother. I'm just going to read a bit and then get your response and then read a little bit further as well. Viva Women Power and Happy Father's Day to me as the honorary male. I've known a number of single mothers who call themselves honorary fathers, congratulating themselves for taking on the role of dad as well as mom, while simultaneously managing to insult the man who seldom makes time for his child or pays maintenance. The truth is that whenever only one sex wins, both sexes lose, and the child loses even more.
Definitely.
Children raised by both parents have positive outcomes than those raised by honorary males alone. And you say here, I just want to emphasize that you're saying children raised by both parents. You didn't say married parents or parents who are together or under one roof or anything. You say children raised by both parents. And I need people to understand that properly. In contrast, you go on to say the data outcomes for Black boys raised by single mothers are disheartening. It's equally disheartening for children who are growing up without a father to hear an endless chorus about their father's faults from their mothers. This only adds to their sense of abandonment. As a child, my mother often told me that my father was a dog, a useless man, and a liar. And it made me hate who I am, especially when she said, I'm just like my father.
Definitely.
Have you had this conversation with your mom?
Yes.
And how has she responded? Obviously, when you were little, you didn't say this. How has she responded to the impact that her words had on you?
Luckily for me, my mom went back to school when we were both in school, high school together in her 30s. And then she enrolled at UWC as a social worker and to study social work. She did a degree and honors. And during her year of service to qualify as a social worker, she also had to do therapy. But she was also at Falkenberg Hospital. So she had psychiatrists and psychologists there. And weekly, she had to do therapy sessions about her. Not clients.
About
not
herself.
About
Yes,
herself.
yes.
And through those therapy sessions, there was a breakthrough. Because my mother, when I was at varsity, I think it was during my final year, during my honors at varsity, she came to meet me at varsity. And then she said to me, I want to speak with you. I had a revelation about how I treated you, the things I said to you, and the physical violence I gave you out of anger because you look just like your father. Copy paste. So whenever I looked at you, I just saw your father and I just got angry. And I was very impatient with you. And I'm here to apologize. And she said, Ukol. And she said, I want my son to say it repeatedly to you that I wronged you. I was wrong. I was angry. I was rightly so angry because your father treated me badly. But I was wrong to make you the punching bag of your father's failure because you are not your father. And that for me was healing. It was truly healing. To this day, my mom says it now. I was with my mom at the church on Saturday and I was giving the talk about the book. And then they ask her to speak. And she also speaks about the importance of the words that come out of your mouth and how important it is and how they injure the child and how a child at a young age doesn't hear my father is a dog. He hears me and my father are dogs. And you've basically prophesied on a child's life that he will amount to nothing. He is nothing. And you wonder then when he turns out a drug addict. And you wonder when he turns out angry. And so this is not, by the way, discounting the hurt and pain.
You do go on to
Yes,
to
I do
explain
go
that.
on to explain that,
Yeah.
that the hurt and pain is real. No one is discounting that. But we should watch who is it channeled to. Because bullies have a bad habit, even at school. They hardly ever hit at people that they know will defeat them. They always go at the people they think they will beat up, they will suppress. It's the same at home, by the way. Men who are bullies always go for the weak. They don't go for other men who are strong. Same at home. Mothers go for their child who's not going to talk back, is not going to hit back. So we are all doing the same in different settings, that we bully our own unintentionally. And I know a lot of what I write there about single mothers is unintentional. It's born out of either hurt or pain or disappointment. But
Their actions are unintentional.
But the
you mean?
actions, yes, are unintentional. No mother wakes up.
But you want us to think about
Yes, because no mother wakes
the
up
impact
with the book that says, I'm looking forward to hurt my boy today.
Yeah.
No mother
Yeah.
does that.
Yeah.
But there are these actions that unintentionally produce negative consequences. And I'm wanting to say to society, it's about time that we don't do this. It's about time we watch what comes out of our mouth, because it is painful. It's verbal violence. We like to look at physical violence in gender-based violence, but we really talk about verbal, this virtuous violence that comes out of our mouth, which is also dangerous. The other one is that some of these fathers who are not present were not given access to the child. It's not that they didn't want to have access, but they were told that, oh, you can't pay maintenance, you are useless, so why should you have the child? Or, I'm the honorary parent here, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve to have this right. And so I also want to bring those things. I'm not saying there aren't men who are irresponsible, who have been given access but are not using it. I'm talking about the majority of men who I've met in the streets who are saying, I want to have access to my child, but I'm told that I can only have it if ngihlawula isisu. I pay for the damages. I pay for maintenance. If I don't do those things, and it's not only said by the single mother, it's said by the entire matriarchy and patriarch in that family. The grandparents.
That he doesn't have the right
to see this
the
child
children
until isisu has been paid, until maintenance has been paid, or the cow has been paid. And those things are not good for the child. We are not acting in the best interest of the child. We are acting in the best interest of our hurt, anger, disappointment, pain, but it doesn't serve the child. So this chapter, even though someone might think that I'm attacking single mothers, I'm actually trying to say, hey, watch out.
conscientizing them.
People to say,
even if you don't change your ways, you know what you're doing.
Yes.
May have this impact. You're aware and you can't unknow what you know.
It's the same as the majority of men that Fathers Hotline, the Fathers Matter program, they interviewed men who have been absent. And one of the insights I got from one of the founders of Hotlines is that the majority of men who are absent to their kids do not know the negative consequences of their absence. They are not aware that by being absent,
they're actually doing something.
There are 50,
they are having
over
an
50
impact.
Unintended consequences
Sure.
for them being absent. They are not aware. So my job and Hotlines, or what about the boys, and all these other organizations, we should bring awareness to men and women about the unintended negative consequences of the things that come out of our mouth, the denying access because there's no maintenance or there's no payment for the pregnancy damages, all of these things, to say, hey, watch out. If we don't do these things, here are the plus 50 unintended negative consequences. And now that you know, Maya Angelou says, now you know, at least now you can do better. And I want to get us to know so that we can do better. Then when
because at the end of the day, the decision is the individual.
Yes, I can't force you to do, but at least you can never again say, I didn't know.
Okay, let's continue. Aside from resisting the urge to badmouth the son's father, the most helpful thing a mother can do is to allow fathers access to their children.
And this is important to me, this access, because I feel like we confuse the two. That, I mean, even when you go to South African courts, there's a maintenance court. And I had this from Lumka Oliphant, a great communications person at social development, or she used to be at social development. And she talks about there's the maintenance court, and then there's the court, the children's court, where you get access. But you don't get access in the same court. The court in itself, in its wisdom, had split the two. Maintenance is not access to child. It's not. Maintenance is not presence. The child, early childhood development doesn't need money. Early childhood development needs presence, quality time. And even kids who grow up under a bridge, they do way better with a present mom and dad under that bridge than kids who don't have access to both parents. So I'm advocating for, please, even if he doesn't pay maintenance, whether he can afford it or not, whether he's an irresponsible asshole, as most people would say, give him access to the child, because the child only remembers those things. For example, Saturday, one of the pastors says at the church, their mom used to say, your father is a dog, inja. Every weekend when she will pack for them, she would say, I'm sending you to that inja.
Ish.
And they said, we will go to our inja, Utoki, the barking dog, and they will make jokes about their inja. And they will even give it a name. And they will make jokes about it. But when they get there, they said they remember a lot that their dad will buy them a 2-liter Coke, 2-liter, and then they will buy them a smiley. Each will have their own smiley. And they said, without fail, he did this consistently. And they said they remember those days of going to their dad, that inja, who never barked at them, who never gave them a bite, who all he did was lick them, be kind to them, did all the things that they wanted from a father. And to this day, that inja, they remember with fondness, with amazing memories, and they know they were loved by a man whom their mom called inja. So I do, but luckily for them, I said to them, let's praise your mom at least. She did
for letting you go.
Because she might have been calling your dad inja, but she also, let's acknowledge the good she did. She sent you to that inja she called inja. But so she did one good. Let's not acknowledge the good and only focus on the bad.
Yeah.
But what I'm also then saying to moms is give access, because the child is hungry give him access even if he's unemployed. Give him access even if he's an alcoholic. Don't give him access only when the child is not safe. And we can prove that the child is not safe around this person. Then, for sure, we must act in the best interest of the child. So if there's an issue of safety, then let's deny access. But if there's no safety issues, whether he's a drug addict or alcoholic, he won't be to his child. Give him access. Let the child see their father's flaws and shadows and light. Let them see it. Let them be the one who says to the mom, I'm good, I'm grand.
Because children can.
They can see it. They are wise.
Those things, yeah.
So they might be the one then to say that, but the mom should not act God and make that decision. You shouldn't deprive the child, and you shouldn't deprive the other parent. And by the way, this is not only done. The social worker told me on Saturday that men also deprive. Men who have primary custodianship also deprive the other party, which is a lady, access, because either she's an alcoholic or she's come out of rehab or she came out of a mental health institution. They would say, no, she's crazy. Therefore, she will be crazy to the kids. And that's wrong. And it's even painful words to use in the presence of the child to call their mom crazy. You can say their mom has a mental health issue, but to say such words, it's also harmful to the child to hear that about their mom. So both sides, I am actually saying, please, the child deserves access and presence of both parents. And a child who has access to both parents has amazing outcomes. Even if the parents are not married, are divorced. Amazing outcomes. A child who has access to both parents.
Doesn't have to be under one roof.
It doesn't have to be under one roof. We should be, as a country, not promoting single parenting. It's not cool. We shouldn't make it cool, that single parenting. We should be promoting dual parenting. We should make that our priority as a country and make single parenting a national crisis.
I think what we ignore or choose to ignore, children love their parents.
Yes.
Children love their parents. They don't have the issues you have with the partner.
Exactly. And it's a great sin to make a child decide who's a better saint.
Sure.
And who's Lucifer.
Sure.
In this relationship. It's not fair
to
a child. Because I remember myself when I grew up in a very violent home, but I loved my parents. I love my dad and my stepdad, and I love my mom. And it was hard for me to take sides. and I didn't understand why I needed to take sides. And I remember taking my mom to the clinic, and then I would have to rush because my dad has been arrested. Now I have to go and bail him at the holding cell, and I'm running around and I'm being Switzerland, and all I am is Switzerland. But it's not fair to a child. The child's psychological immune system is compromised by this apartheid. It's compromised because then you wonder why a child as an adult does not have a strong psychological immune system.
It was broken at childhood.
At childhood.
Let's just continue on some of your points. You say here, I'm not dismissing the pain that many single mothers have borne. Rather, I'm pleading for parents to resist using their children to fight adult battles. A child should never be made to choose sides. That is nothing short of child abuse. Adults must always act in the best interest of the child.
I think if there's one thing here for both sides is let's act in the best interest of the child.
Yeah.
Let's even
not in our best interest.
Yes, even when we are emotionally dysregulated and the pain parts in us say, I want him or her to feel pain. Let's think about the child. Let's think about this retribution and vengeance that we need. How does it serve the child? Is it really in the best interest of the child?
Children who have grown up in homes where parenting is shared equally have higher measurements for psychological, social, and physical health than children who have sole parenting and primary parent arrangements, and fare almost as well as those in an intact family, you call it. Boys raised by both parents also have better economic outcomes.
Yes.
Where does this research come from? You will tell us. Children who are born in poverty and are raised by both parents have an 80% chance of moving to the middle class. In contrast, middle-class children who are raised without a father are 4 times more likely to end up poor.
They regress. They don't progress.
Where is this research from?
So this is amazing, as in I put a footnote there. And
Warren Fowler and John Gray,
yeah, on the
2019.
book called The Boy Crisis.
Yeah.
It's a well-researched book. And there's also enough for those nerdy ones who want to go and look at empirical research journal papers. There's a lot of research papers on the outcomes for boys and girls raised in single parenting homes. And some parents will say to me, yeah, but I was raised in a single home
and I'm fine.
I turned out. And then I say to them, you're an outlier. You're not the norm. You are not in a normal distribution curve. You are in statistics, what we call a Pareto distribution. You are in the tail. You are in the lucky 1 to 3%. The majority of kids who are raised in single parent homes globally, and it's nothing to do with black or race, it's a global phenomenon, tend on average not to have better outcomes than kids raised by both parents. And you could want to deny that and say, but I'm a stats, but you're a stats of one.
Yeah.
You are not a representative sample of the country or the globe. And what I'm presenting here is a representative sample of what happens to boys and girls, particularly boys who are raised in single parent homes.
You go on to say living without a father doubles the likelihood of dropping out of school, being expelled, or skipping school, even when race, education, income, and other socio-economic factors are equal. Boys who live without their fathers become more demanding and coercive towards their mothers, often searching for structure, meaning, and respect in gangs. Alarmingly high levels of pathology, including substance abuse and criminality or criminal activity, have been found amongst children, and primarily boys, who are raised without fathers, with these problems often lingering into adulthood.
I mean, over close to 90% of prison inmates in this country are males. And the majority of those males who are in correctional services and juvenile have no father. There's the correlation. If you don't want to use the word causality, but there is the correlation that single parenting is not good for us. And this idea that it is, there's no data to support that. no one is saying parents should not leave if they are being mishandled or there's gender-based violence. No one is saying you should stay because this data says kids who are raised by.
Yeah.
The data says kids who are co-parented well.
Yeah.
Whether in divorce,
Yeah.
whether in separation, whether living in the same house or not living in the same house, they tend to do better. Even data on the boy crisis book, it suggests that the both parents who are separated or divorced, they should not be far many kilometer radius apart from each other.
I think you say they should. The children should spend at least a third of their time with one parent.
With one parent.
Yeah.
So because the primary guardian will always be the one who has 2/3 of the time, and the primary guardian is the shapeshifter of culture, language, everything. So the kids who can't always speak their mother tongue, who only speak English, it's the primary guardian that can shape mother tongue, not the supporting second. And we know that number 2 is always looked at as Father Christmas or Mother Christmas because they are genuinely a substitution parent. They're the ones who bring the 2-liter bottle and the smiley and the cake. We play.
The occasional parent.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one who has most of the heavy lifting is the primary parent. So we should acknowledge that. But that primary parent could lessen the load if they allow the second parent more access, more time with the kids, so that it is even over 1/3. It exceeds 1/3. It gets to close to 50%. If it's 50-50, the child even thrives. Even 1/3, the child still even thrives. It's enough medicine for the child.
And then you've interviewed women for this book. What is their response to this? What you say about single parenting?
The first one is there's a mistake that society, including men, make to think that women should be solely held responsible for having kids as single parents, as if women intentionally woke up and chose to be single parents. That's nonsense, because the majority of women are smart enough to know that it takes 2 to tango and it takes 2 to raise a child. It actually much cost effective to do it as a pair than as one.
Yes.
So I first need to say this thing needs to end, that there's an assumption that women woke up and decided that they want to be single. There's very few women who went for IVF and made a decision that they will be single. Those are few and far in between. They're probably less than 1%.
Yeah.
The majority of women, the men left. And yes, some women suffer in psychology what we call affective forecasting, where you forecast incorrectly. You choose the wrong person. The nicer word is affective forecasting.
Okay.
But you just chose the wrong person. But you can't forecast that they're going to leave or they're not going to be responsible.
Yeah.
It's wrong to then assume that. So that part needs to be corrected. Then the second part is that women also then will say that it's hard, this thing, because the guy was mean, hurtful, painful.
To them.
Yeah. And now they see him play with the child and the child constantly comes home like, oh, my dad is a hero. Oh, my dad. And in deep down, they boiling because that hero is an asshole to her, but is a Superman and a hero, an avenger of some sort to the boy. And so that also is hurtful, which I acknowledge. I should say that we should commend women who give access to
continue to do it despite
this hurt,
the difficulty.
And the difficulty.
And is it important for us to separate those roles, the partner and the father?
Exactly. We should. But it's because we are balls of emotion and feelings, and we are predictably irrational. We struggle
it's difficult
to separate these things. They just become one huge emotional ball. And we apply that hurt and pain into our decisions. And we are very decisive and divisive in our acts. And so it's very hard. However, when a person does reach, there are women I've interviewed who have reached that emotional regulation where they separate what he has been to her and then what the child needs. And the two are very distinct in their heads and heart. and they separate them and they send the child to the father. They even drive. This lady gave me an example not long ago. She will drive 100 plus kilometers to drop the child, the two kids, to the father's house in the shack that he stays in, even though she lives in the suburbs, in the fancy suburbs. But she will do it every weekend without
in
fail.
the best interest
Of the child. Even though when she gets there, that guy is still that guy who hasn't improved, still a loser.
Allow him to father.
Allow him to father the child.
Let's talk about how do we reintegrate? How do we assist in the reintegration of the father with mothers who no, he's not going to come anywhere close to my child? What advice would you give a mother who is like, I hate that man, I don't want him anywhere near my child, I love my children? How do you facilitate that reintegration?
Luckily, in this country, we have an amazing social development, actually, which we, as taxpayers, especially middle, upper income, we don't utilize enough. Luckily, in this country, we have amazing social workers who are also counselors, who are also family counselors, who do amazing work, who understand how to integrate the child slowly, because we shouldn't try and force this issue. We should do it slowly. And also, luckily, in this country, we have enough black female therapists. What we don't have enough in this country is black male therapists. But we have enough. Or we still have a sizable number out of the 30% of therapists who are black, who are predominantly black females, that if you can afford, please do go and consult a family therapist. There's also now co-parenting experts or parenting coordinators that can be appointed by the court, that can also be suggested by a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a social worker can be a parenting coordinator as well. There are lawyers who can be parenting coordinators. So we do have tools.
The resources
are there that we can use to slowly integrate our kids into this person that we do not like or we hate.
But it has to start with the mom herself, right? She needs to go through the source. First of all, why she doesn't want the father, what happened, and deal with all of that before she can actually even consider bringing him back in.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I have a case on Saturday of 2 children who they were born out of rape.
Sure.
And that was hard for me because one of the children, the boy, wants to see the father. And he's not doing well in life. And he's found out
that the father is a rapist.
Yes.
And
he's found out that he is a child of rape, but no one told him. But one of those drunk uncles and aunt who don't keep family secrets, those ones, spilled the beans in his moment of drunkenness to the kids carelessly and loosely. And the kids now know. So now the genie is out of the bottle. And now what do?
What do you do? Tell me.
And that's when we introduced the social worker. Luckily there in Khayelitsha, which is where this incident is, there's a social worker. There are social workers who can intervene. There are social workers who are trained to how we slowly manage this. How do we give therapy first to the mother who is angry? Because the mom as well has never hugged or said to her kids, I love you, because they are products of rape. She sees them and she just thinks of the anger and the pain that it has caused her, these twins. And then the therapist has to deal with that anger first, with the mom's anger, with the mom's pain, which is real. And we should not discount it or dismiss it or dilute it or belittle it. It's real. And then there's these 2 kids who also have to go to therapy, who also have to go to their own counseling. We're not even talking about the father. That is now even put on ice for now because we first have to deal with this hurt and pain. And then they're going to put a program in place on how they're going to figure out a way to integrate that father, who is known, by the way.
He's out of jail. He's not in jail.
He's here in the street.
Okay.
So it's not a stranger. It's someone who is known. And so now they will have to integrate that person into the story. and figure out a way. But this is not a sprint. This is an ultra marathon journey of healing. And this is no guarantee that that grief, that pain goes away. But we find ways to live with it. We find ways to manage it. Because some pain and headaches is more like chronic illness. You can only manage it through insulin. You can manage it through ARVs. But it doesn't mean it goes away.
Yeah, it's managed, not
it's
cured.
It's just managed, but not cured. So this might be one of those where you are in a management program, pain and head management program, but you are not in a curing program. You are not going to be cured. And let's not act like there will be a cure. But we can maybe find a management, chronic management, emotional program that will help this mom be able to hug her children again and say to them, I love you. We can also help these children love themselves and not see themselves as only as product of rape. But then also the one who has the huge desire out of the two, which is the boy who wants to see their father, figure out a way how you integrate that story into that boy's life. So you see that this is not easy, that what we are talking about. It's tough.
It's heavy stuff.
It's heavy stuff, but it can be done. That's why I said,
it must be done.
Must be done.
The work must be done.
Because this boy, whose psychological immune system, whose spiritual immune system is broken, whose cognitive immune system is broken, is soon going to turn 18. Is soon going to be 21. Soon, that anger, that rage is going to show up. And it's going to show up in places we do not want. And gender-based violence, femicide, is one of them.
And that's why we need to do the work.
And that's why we need to do the work. It's not easy work, what we're doing now. It's not easy work. But if we're not doing it, we don't heal. And if we don't heal, we become destructive towards each other. So it's not nice. It's not nice work. It's heavy work.
Social fathers, they also come in here because they are single mothers who are raising their children alone because there is no father. Yep. Right? Either the father's dead or in jail or whatever. I don't know. The social father situation is already happening organically, right? There are grandfathers who are social fathers, etc. Does the mother choose the social father, or does the son choose the social father? How do you deal with this?
For safety's sake. I mean, when the child is still young, he doesn't know any better. And he's still naive. The mom knows better. The adults know better. So when I talk about social fathers, in this case you must remember 90% plus of rapes and molestations of boys is by family members. It's by, so the snakes are not strangers. The snakes are at home, are your bloodline. So we must also remember that part. Like the snakes are the aunt, the uncle, the cousins and the siblings. They too, and then the gardener that is here and the helper that is here or next door. So it's actually not a long, huge radius where the snakes are for your child. So, but I still believe that the mom should be deliberate, intentional, and proactive in choosing a social father for their child. And the best way to choose a social father for their child, the mom must keep their boy busy. Go to scouts, go to a chess club, go to a football, rugby club, sports club, go to a music club. Look at your child's interest. Even if your boy is effeminate or has more feminine energy and loves art, loves makeup, and loves dresses, and loves being a designer or hairstylist, which I know that we need to break these masculine old norms that a boy must not be effeminate or they must not be soft. These things need to stop. And you must look at your child and study your child and then see their interest. And then there are enough clubs in this country that we are underutilizing, including the scouts, including chess clubs, including music clubs or sports clubs. They exist already, karate clubs, you name it. We should then take our kids there first because those are formalized institutions. We have someone we can hold accountable.
Yeah.
We have a body, an association we can complain to. We have a lot more. Doesn't mean there are no snakes there, but we are at least reducing the risk of being many snakes.
Yeah.
So I would say you find for example, with my case, I was taken to Boy Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a social father who was my scout master, who was now my guide, my mentor. Then I was taken to become an altar boy. We should take boys back to church. Religion has a role. I know middle and upper class, when they become moneyed, they forget God, and God no longer becomes an issue, especially religion. They're like, nah, I don't do religion. Those people are this and this, as if like there are perfect places. Churches are not perfect. Doesn't mean now just because it's not perfect, we should throw the baby with the bathwater. You should find the good that is in there. So I was an altar boy there. So I had a deacon. Then I had a priest who became my role model. But by the way, my priest was an alcoholic. So he was flawed.
Okay.
But he was also kind. He was also will say amazing advice, give amazing advice.
He was human.
He was human. He was flawed. He was as human as you can find. Like he was full of flaws, but also shadows and light. So that's the thing. So I saw the good in him. I also the bad in him. And then they said go into NGOs. Like if I like being part of NGOs. So we were part of an NGO. There, I found another social father. So now I've got 3 social fathers whom my mom knows, my mom can monitor, my mom can partner with in raising me. My mom can notice things about me and then go to the scoutmaster and say, hey, I've noticed this and this in my son. Can we partner in resolving it? Now it's a village that you've curated for your son to make sure that your son is never alone. Because the truth of the matter is, as a mother, you are not enough. You are enough as a parent, but as a mother, you are not enough to raise that boy. That boy needs the father. And that boy needs a male role model. And you can curate those role models by making sure that there are social fathers in these clubs that you can go send your child. But don't just abdicate the responsibility and send like we do now. We abdicate responsibility of parenting to schools.
To schools, yeah.
We should be part and parcel of, we should be those parents.
They are partners.
We partner. Yeah. That's why I find like when I go to school events, you find like white parents or Indian parents are there, actively involved, sometimes over-involved, but we are not even involved. Like 2 out of 10. We just send the child, drop, and then leave. Go watch.
We're paying a lot of money to these schools. So
and then say they must do the work.
Yeah, they must do all the work.
We should be involved. Same, if I take a child to my last born, her mom, thank you to her wisdom, sends our kid to Scouts, and she's a girl. And she goes to Scouts. She also takes her to music lessons or karate lessons, a swimming club. You see the things. Even I not being there in KZN, she has a mom who's wise enough to add other role models in my daughter's way, who are also complementing my malehood and sometimes my absence. So that's what I think we should all be doing.
Because the children will find social fathers.
Yes.
Right? It does happen. You find children in gangs have found social fathers in the gang.
Yes, because there's an old priest who said to me, the demons enter where there's absence. And that nature abhors a vacuum. And that Lucifer is an amazing student of vacuum. And he studies vacuums and absence and gaps. And then he finds his own people, the pedophile, the gang leader, to come feel that void, to come feel that absence. So if we are not intentional, proactive, and deliberate about who we choose for our sons, because the void doesn't go away because we are not feeling it.
It needs to be filled by someone or
so
something.
Something will fill it, but that thing might not be the thing you want to fill it. And that's where gangsters play such a role, because what they do, they say, I see you. Sure. I love you.
Yeah.
I'm loyal to you. I will die for you.
You are family. You
You
are
matter.
important. You matter. Exactly.
And now that thing is not being said at home. In the gang, it's said. It's used. And someone would say to me, you must always remember the road to heaven passes through hell. So if you are not creating a proper heaven for your child, they will stay in hell. But they won't know which door to use to get out of that hell. Because suffering is part of your child's growth. So I'm not here to advocate for parents to overprotect, overparent, overmother, overfather, because your child must suffer. Your child must fall. Your child must pick themselves up. Your child must learn failure and sorrow and suffering and pain so that they grow into not old infants who are not leaving home. Because that's what we're going to be having as this generation.
Yeah.
But they will grow as whole sons and daughters. So I am just advocating for get involved, be deliberate, intentional, and proactive on picking social fathers. Even at home, if you are seeing a good uncle and you are seeing a good grandfather, don't let them part-time your son. If they are a good uncle, let them be full-timing your son. Tell them, every time I'm gonna weekends, could you please either come over at my pace and stay here and be with my son so that there's a male voice here? Or every weekend, I'm taking my son to you. I will give you the money for food, for if the uncle is unemployed, but if they're good and you can see they're good and they're doing good for the son, partner. Tell them, don't leave it to them to decide. Tell them that, hey, you're doing an amazing job for my son. My son loves you. Would you mind if I appoint you as a full-time dad for my son while his father or her father is decided to be absent and not do the right thing? And we engineer these social fathers, even the grandfather. And then, yes, there might be things, by the way, these uncles and grandfathers say that you don't like, that are archaic, that are old. But that's just part of life. And then you can correct that then. You can find a way to correct that, but you can't put your child in a bubble. I mean, I remember hearing that, when God created the Garden of Eden, he still allowed snakes to enter. And Adam and Eve.
And look at what the snake did.
Yeah. And look where we are now. So there is no way where God has created a bubble that doesn't allow snakes to enter. Same with us. There is no way we're going to create this bubble for our kids that snakes will not enter. We should just make sure that we have the antidote. What's the thing for snakes? The antivenom. Yeah, we have that. Yeah. We should make sure that our kids know how to avoid and jump the snakes, which snakes are dangerous, which snakes are pet snakes, which snakes are lethal. We should be teaching our kids to know that. And then we're also teaching our kids to decipher between good snakes and bad snakes and which snakes not to play with. But that is our job as parents. And that's our job, but it's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job, right?
I think we should even be paid.
Yeah. We tend to spend a lot of time at work, doing the work, putting the extra hours in the work, but not the extra hours in parenting.
Yeah, because I mean, in my village, they say, how you die is how you've lived your life. And then they say, you bend the tree while it's young. And when it's older, you can only trim and prune it. We have a responsibility of the first 8 years, especially the first 0, actually from your womb.
In utero.
In utero.
Yeah.
All the way to age 8. That's when we should be paying attention. We should be deliberate and intentional in what happens to our kids. Because if a mom is stressed in that 9-month period, and the father is abusing the mother, and the mother is in stress mode and distress mode, who do you think she's going to give birth to? And if the mom is in such a good space, such a good state, and the father is so responsible and helping, what child do you think is going to come out of that womb? And then in that womb from 0 days to 9 months, and then to 8 years, that's where we're shaping and bending that tree. And then after that, we are only trimming and pruning.
Yeah. So intervention becomes extremely difficult.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
So I'm asking for us to double down on pre-birth womb stage, 9 months, 0 to 8 to 9 years. We just double down because that's early childhood foundation phase. We double down. We read for kids. We have lots of books. I mean, I was saying to parents in Cape Town that, do you know that kids with a home that has books, whether read or not, that has lots of books, end up being good at reading for meaning? Because just books. Do you know that
exposure
to books? Do you know that kids who see their parents read also end up readers? Do you know that if you're a parent, you don't like reading, even if you just sit and pretend
you're reading
to be reading, you just do this, and your kids are watching, and you keep saying, "This book," and you do lick the page like our parents did, and then you do, and you're like, "This book." You will see, monkey see, monkey do. And then you will see your kids, they will pick up a book and they will themselves, first it starts as pretense and then it becomes real. And then you can say, "Hey, what you reading? Can I read it with you?" Or if there's a word there that you don't understand, here's a dictionary. Or here's my phone. We should look up to those words we don't understand. Together. Now, what have you done? You have helped the child. Simple things as those like we missed out on. We don't have books in our homes and Black people. Even if it's a book, it's R1. I mean, if we can buy Ngudu, we can buy a book. Please, you don't tell me we can't afford books and use poverty as an excuse. If we can buy Ngudu, if we can do sports betting and buy Lotto for R250, we can go to the library and borrow a book and just pile up our houses with books from the library, and we return them, we take them back, and we just create a library at home.
And a reading culture.
And the kids who read for meaning tend to do well in life. Black or colored or Indian or Asian, they just do well in life. So those are the things I feel like we can do. That's where we become intentional, deliberate, proactive as parents.
We need to roll up our sleeves. Thank you so very much, Dr. Masito. Will you come back?
Yes, I will. I promise.
Thanks.